Hello, BillWhittle.com members and non-members alike. I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is your Right Angle Lightning Round, brought to you by the members at BillWhittle.com. In case you're new to the whole Lightning Round show, instead of digging deep into one topic and intelligently into one topic, well, a man can dream anyway, I throw semi-random headlines at Bill and Scott. They have no idea what's coming, and we get their quick takes on the hot issues of the day, or at least the stories that I thought were amusing, but not quite serious enough for a full segment. So without further ado, Bill, we're going to start with you this week. Chicago police superintendent says attacks on officers are up 5 times over previous years, and this is coming from Chicago, so you know that's a big number multiplied by 5, which gives you a number that's, 5 times bigger, I guess, yeah?
Yeah. And you have entire cities like the one I live in, where during the height of the George Floyd riots, the mayor said that we're going to take $100 or $200 million that was going to go to the police force, and we're going to distribute it out among the Black community. And what does that tell the policemen who are on duty? I often go down to just go for a late walk with my wife, and often see police outside of 7-Eleven. And every single time I see them, I walk up to them, and you can always tell, it's like they're thinking like, oh, God, here's somebody else going to dump on me, And I say, you guys are doing a great job out there. And I know you see people in the streets protesting, but think about everybody who's not in the streets. They're on your side and hang in there. We really think you're doing a good job. And the look on the look on their faces, Steve, is that there's a brief moment there where they're not policemen. It lasts about 1.5 seconds, 2 seconds, where they're not policemen anymore. They're people.
Right before they say up against the car.
That's right. That's what I get for wearing my explosive belt when I go out for a late night walk. But they have. It's not just a question of criminals declaring open season on policemen. It's that the entire political structure of much of the country backs this. They don't just say it's an abomination. They support it. At the lowest level, they're saying we should cut the funding to the police. What does that tell you if you're a police officer? How does that make you feel? And on higher levels, basically, they're screaming, hey, F the pigs, and you're not hearing a bit of pushback from anybody else. Now, here in Los Angeles, we had a particular situation where two sheriff's deputies were basically assassinated. Somebody walked up to them, both shot them in the head. Last I heard, they were fighting for their lives. But here's where the story gets to be really indicative of the times we live in. When it was revealed that these policemen had been shot and they were being taken to the local hotel, protesters went to the hospital, formed a cordon around the hospital and wouldn't let them in. They say, screaming at the top of their lungs, we hope they die. The police chief basically had to tweet something saying, please don't block the entrance to the hospital. When there's nothing you can do about a person who walks up to a police car and shoots people in the head. But there is something you can do. As the mayor of this city or the governor of this state, there is something you can do about people that block entrance to the emergency room of a hospital because policemen have been shot. What you can do is you can round those people up and you can put them in jail and you can bring charges against them to make sure that they never, ever have another job that pays more than $5 an hour again. You can take action against those people. And this is the thing that is so disgusting about this. It's not that sometimes people don't snap, sometimes policemen snap, sometimes soldiers snap. That's not the issue. The issue is, what does the institution do about it? And the institution in this case has not only not done anything to stop them, but by not stopping them, they've actually encouraged them. So yeah, we've set up a entire states where it's open season on policemen. And I know I'm going long, but Steve, I saw something I think I saw it on Instapundit this morning, where somebody had put up a Facebook post and basically said, listen, this is just for policemen. If you're tired or you're thirsty, come knock on my door and we'll get you some water. If you're overheated, come on in and relax. You can sit in the air conditioning. If you want to pray, we'll kneel with you. If you want to talk, we're here to talk with you. It was just this open letter to any policeman that may be, just stressed out. They said, don't let the people out there make you think that there's that none of us care. And it was beautiful. And we forget that they are policemen and policewomen. They're not RoboCops. They have feelings. They're real human beings like everybody else. And we certainly have their backs. The majority of the country has their backs. And just because certain politicians are making a lot of money and getting a lot of power by siding with the mob doesn't mean that we side with the mob. Indeed. Sorry about the long answer.
Oh, no, quite all right. There's so much to say about this. I'll just throw in one last thing. You probably saw the riots Sunday in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, after a policeman there had the temerity to defend himself from an assailant coming out of nowhere with a big old knife. That's over, at least pretty much over. Pennsylvania State Police sent in their special response team. They rounded up the ringleaders. They pressed charges. They set bails that are high enough to keep them there. And these guys apparently going to face real trials, and boom, that ended. If Portland wanted to do this, they could. If Seattle wanted to do this, they could. If Los Angeles wanted to do this, they could.
Yep.
They aren't doing these things. They don't want to do these things. The lawlessness you see in those cities, it's because the leadership in those cities want it to continue. It's just disgusting. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now and get to Scott. Get woke, go broke. NFL's Sunday Night Football debut ratings way down from 2019, Scott. And as you're probably aware, 2019 was worse than 2018 and so on for the last 4, 5, 6 years now. What's your take on that?
Was this the Chiefs game? Was that the Sunday Night Football game?
I think that was the game. I don't know. I don't watch anymore.
Yeah, I actually caught a number of football games this past weekend because I was traveling, and believe it or not, you can watch TV on the plane. God bless America.
Right.
I watched 2 entire NFL football games on the plane. I think that there are a number of factors that contribute to this. Obviously, some of it is that get woke, go broke stuff. Some of it is just the difficulty of generating enthusiasm for, in some cases, football games being played in empty stadiums. I think the Chiefs game had 15 or 16,000 people in the stadium spaced out around the place. And they generated as much noise as 15 or 16,000 people can. But, you're kind of missing that kind of the enthusiasm for the game in that case. It's a shame because it's a game that so many people feel so passionately about. And frankly, when the game started up, I was watching the Chiefs game. When it started up, I almost got a lump in my throat. I was like, football is back. We can play football now, like that was, I never thought, I'm not a super sports fan, so I'm not always like, ooh, I know what day the season starts or anything like that. But this year was a little different, and I was truly excited just to see a little bit of normalcy return. Now, in the game that I watched, the Chiefs stood outside and linked arms during the national anthem, and apparently before I tuned in, they played Lift Every Voice and Sing, which is some call the Black National Anthem. The other team, who cares? It wasn't the Chiefs. They remained in the locker room until after all that was over, and they came out. But I really didn't care. I was just like, okay, you've made your statement. Fine. Now let's play some football and do it well. I don't know how people who really love the game stop watching it because it's football. Like, how do you not watch it?
I really thought I'd miss my Broncos, even the Niners for my years in Northern California, but I haven't, and it's been a couple of years now for me. Bill, let's go to you. On 9/11 anniversary, Newsweek. Remember Newsweek sold for $1? Newsweek wonders if Islamophobia is the, quote, last acceptable form of prejudice. I question the timing.
I don't think we're down to the bottom of the barrel on that yet.
Yeah, 19 years later, we're still dragging Muslims out of their houses and beating them to death with tire irons in the street to the same level that we did right on the same day as 9/11 actually happened. And the number then was zero, and the number today is 0. And the intervening 19 years, the number has been 0. I think there comes a point when somebody's opinion or the opinion of a newspaper becomes more than an opinion. It becomes an insult and on actual lives that were lost. When I run into people who are Holocaust deniers, they're not just expressing an opinion. They're people who are saying that the fingernails in the reinforced concrete walls of people scratching to get themselves out of these gas chambers. They're saying those people never died. They're saying it didn't happen. They're saying that all of those individual lives that were lost are just, no, didn't happen. And there comes a point when the fundamental humanity of a person disappears. If you lose track of the fact that these were actual people in the buildings, that they were actual people in the concentration camps, that they were actual people in the gulags. And as I like to say, they're just as real as you are or I am. They were just that real, and they were murdered. When you pretend that the whole thing is basically that the reaction to the murder of 3,000 people in the name of Islam, it wasn't like they happened to be Muslims. In the name of Islam, they were murdered. Then to say that this whole thing is just a form of American prejudice is to say those people never died. America has handled the reaction to this with astonishing levels of self-control, decency, and tolerance. There's not another country in the world that would have suffered that kind of an attack from people who were bragging about who did it, who would have responded with the sense of restraint that the American people have expressed. And I suppose this guy's just thinking, wow, we got to throw something at these people. You know, it's been a while since we heard the Islamophobic thing, so let's revive that. That's how they remember 9/11. That's their memory. It's 9/11 is a chance to accuse conservatives and Americans in general of being awful, awful people. And when you can spend 9/11 confusing, telling Americans how awful they are, it nicely avoids the fact that you don't have to talk about how awful the people that actually hijacked those airplanes, murdered the stewardesses, murdered the pilots, and flew them into offices of peaceful people going about their business. Then all of a sudden you don't have to talk about them. It's like they didn't exist, like it didn't happen. That person can go to hell too.
Well said. Scott, let's go to you. Pelosi, Nancy Pelosi, remember her? She of the brilliant Washington hair blow dry a couple of weeks ago. She ditches science, blames angry Mother Earth for California's wildfires. That's our party of science at work there, Scott.
And what was the context for this? Was she in some sort of chanting circle? Or what is?
Well, I believe it was her weekly press conference. So with the Washington Press Corps, so same deal, basically. Yeah.
Stone got angry.
Yeah, minus it being sky-clad. And oh God, I'm sorry for bringing up that image.
Yeah, it's always fascinates me how people who insist that there was no personality behind the creation of the universe, for example, cannot avoid personalityizing inanimate objects. So, you know, to say there's got to be a character named Mother Nature. You know, we can't have a character named God, but we can have a character named Mother Nature who gets upset with us. You know, it's when you hear the news reports that say that this killer storm has gone out there and slain 13 people along the coast or whatever, as if it had intent and said, "Where are those people? I will have vengeance." You know, like. You know, and then you hear that, you know, half the people who died in the most recent hurricane were because they suffocated because they used a gasoline-powered generator indoors and they died of carbon monoxide poisoning. I mean, it's a tragic, horrible thing. But it's all part of the selling of the news cycle and the selling of weather reports. They've got to make it dramatic in order to keep us watching. And it's bled over into politics now. At least, you know, that takes, if Nancy Pelosi is saying it was Mother Nature getting angry, that gives her just sort of one sentence where she is not blaming Donald Trump for causing climate change.
Well,
but
she's off message.
But if she says it's Mother Nature or global warming, then that means it's not mismanagement of these wildlands for 30 years of exclusively democratic rule that have allowed this brush to build up to these horrific levels. You see how it works? It's not our fault that these states are burning down because we have these insane policies for 30 years. It's global warming that's doing it.
Might be Mother Pelosi.
Indeed. Just you let the kindling build up year after year after year. You get these massive fires. End of story. Let's wrap up with me. President Trump says he's up for a 4-hour debate moderated by Joe Rogan. I can't even begin to tell you how thrilled I am with this idea. I think it would be great. But you know what? And no offense to Joe Rogan, but you know what I'd actually rather see? It doesn't have to be 4 hours. 2 hours would be fine, maybe 3. You know, I drunk blog these things. There's only so much even my liver can take. But what I really like to see, the best political debate I ever saw, I watched this thing when I was 18 years old. It was 1987, and it was the beginning of the primary season for both political parties going into the 1988 race. And two guys who did not win their party's nominations, unfortunately, because I think they would have been much better than the guys who actually did win their party's nominations in 88. Pete DuPont on the Republican side and Bruce Babbitt on the Democrat side sat down for, I believe it was a C-SPAN cameras. And keep in mind, yes, I was watching this when I was 18 years old. I was a really weird kid, but I grew out of it. Okay, I didn't grow out of it. But they sat down for 2 hours in a couple of, if I remember correctly, a couple of comfy leather wingback chairs. There was a little table between them. And the closest thing they had to a moderator for this debate was the pitcher of water on the table. And it was two serious guys talking about serious issues with no 1-minute timer or any of this stuff. They just debated the issues as if they cared about the issues, as if they cared about what people thought they cared about the issues, and as though they actually respected one another. It was a hell of a thing, and I doubt we'll ever see its like again. But just the idea that President Trump is willing to do this with Joe Rogan, we know Joe Biden won't show up, says to me something very nice that Joe Rogan would actually float this idea, and something even better, that Donald Trump would leap all over it. It's just brilliant. And if we can't do it in 2020, maybe we can do it in 2024. How about an American? You up for a real debate? I bet you are. All right, this was your lightning round of Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Hey, I'd like to remind you that content like this needs sponsors like you. So if you've been watching these for free, please click over to BillWhittle.com, click the join button. We need your support, and you'll feel better about yourself. Also, you get our backstage show, which is excruciating, but apparently people like it. And that's it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.